There's two things that can happen in how you feel when you have a long distance relationship as a fearful avoidant. Let's find out what they are. I am Pauline and I am so happy you are here because a long distance relationship is kind of complicated as it is, isn't it? But when you're a fearful avoidant, it can become even more complicated. um, in some ways, we had a long distance relationship for a long time, and in some ways, I'm happy that it was because it also provided me with a little bit of space that I had such a hard time expressing that I needed every now and then. So I think that if I would have been in a crash state of my fearful avoidant attachment style while we were living together, I also would have a really hard time because I would need space, but I wouldn't communicate that because I wouldn't know how. But when I started um, getting into my crush state as a fearful avoidant, we had a long distance relationship, and in the Netherlands, long distance is like 30 minutes by train. Which it was. I mean, where I studied and where he lived was like 30 minutes away. But still, it wasn't like we could be together every single evening. It must sound crazy for you if you're American or you live in Australia or any country that, is very broad and big. Um, but what that came down to was that he would visit me every weekend, or I would go to the city that he lived, Utrecht. And what happened was very interesting. And what can happen is one of two things when you have a long distance relationship. Um, First of all, you could start protecting yourself when they are away, um, which means that I had to have constant confirmation of my feelings, that what I felt was enough, and constant confirmation from him that he still loved me and that everything was okay. And so when we were away, when we weren't together, I started protecting myself, thinking that he must have found something that he didn't like about me. I must have done something wrong. And these weren't very much the conscious thoughts. The conscious thoughts were that I was having doubts about my feelings because that was the way I was protecting myself, having doubts, which is a very common thing in fearful avoidance and people with ROCD. So when he was away, I was just obsessively analyzing the whole relationship. I was continuously seeing if we were compatible, whether I loved him enough, whether I missed him enough, whether when I saw him that last weekend, whether I had enough feelings. And it was just so exhausting to not be with him. But then when he was with me and I did have the confirmation that everything was okay and he wasn't mad at me, I would flip and I would wrestle or struggle with the fact that he came too close. So I would close off completely and have doubts about that. Shouldn't I be feeling something? Shouldn't I be more in love? Shouldn't I want to have sex with him right now? And every single moment that I thought I would have to feel more and I didn't, that was like a panic state. So it kind of flip flopped every time. So what this looked like was that when he came to see me in the weekend, that will be on a Friday, I had worked myself into a tension, a tizzy, a crash state, really, by having doubts that whole week and just analyzing and analyzing every single thing and putting so much pressure on that moment that I would see him and hoping that I would feel in love and that I would feel so much. And then I wouldn't. And because I was just in such a fear state that I couldn't feel love. It's very hard to feel love when you're in a state of fear. And so when he would come and ring the doorbell and I would open the door and I wouldn't feel anything, I usually just completely shut off immediately and closed off and shut down all my feelings. And so that Friday night, the first evening, was very hard, and he sometimes just didn't know what to do to get through to me and to actually have some sort of connection with me. And then the Saturday usually was a bit better. I would open up, I would actually enjoy some parts of it. And then Sunday came, and that was hard again, because then he would leave, and I would start to protect myself again from missing him and being away from him, and being scared that he would analyze our relationship the way I did, which obviously he didn't, and then find something that was wrong with me and then hate me forever. So the weekends were interesting, to say the least. And a long distance relationship, because of this, is, I mean, it's hard, because you're dealing with missing somebody, you're dealing with insecurity about so many things, but it's hard to deal with not having that confirmation that, you know, you're okay, and your partner loves you, without a fearful avoidant attachment style. So when you do have a fearful avoidant attachment style, that's like putting an hourglass on the whole situation, and makes it just so intensely confusing and frustrating, because you want to be happy when you're with each other, but then you put so much pressure on the times that you're with the other person, with your partner, that anytime you put pressure on yourself and on your feelings, mostly, your feelings will just vanish, because that's not how feelings work. The more you want them to be there, the less they are there, because actually you are scared of allowing your feelings to be there. But when you have a long distance relationship, that's just really hard, and that adds a lot of like feelings of guilt. I should be happy right now, I should want to be with them, we only have a couple of days, I need to enjoy this, I need to be in the moment, I need to want them, I need to do so many things. And the more you need to do for yourself, you know, your fear brain telling you that, the less that you can actually just be in the moment and allow everything to be there. So that added pressure will cause added stress, added fear, and therefore added doubts. And then you know that you're not going to see them for a long time. And how are you handling these feelings of missing somebody, and maybe even longing for somebody, or desiring to be with them, when you're simultaneously also very scared of being rejected and being abandoned, and fearful that you may have done something wrong, or said something wrong, or that they figured out that they don't like you. So whether it's a weekend relationship where you only see each other in the weekend, or it's a relationship where you only see each other for a couple of days every few months, it's really hard. It gives you so many feelings, so many different kind of feelings, and it makes total sense that when you're struggling with feelings as it is, that being in a long distance relationship is like even more confusing and conflicting and infuriating. So yeah, it's as you heal, you will notice that it is easier to allow all your feelings to be there, and therefore it might also get easier to allow missing somebody or longing for somebody, and see the beauty in that. And you won't put as much pressure on yourself when you are together, that everything has to be perfect, and you have to make the most amazing memories, and you have to be in love, and you know, and the sex has to be absolutely fantastic. And that's just so much pressure that will add to the fire of doubt and confusion and stress and anxiety. So relieving that yourself from that pressure of everything having to be perfect, that will help tremendously. It's just, you know, you're gonna see each other, and anything that's there that's okay, whether your feelings are just very intense or they're not there at all. Allow everything to be there. And if you have so many negative feelings, if a lot of stress and anxiety comes up, that doesn't mean that the relationship is wrong. It just means that you're having a hard time with allowing the feelings to be there. And fearful avoidants usually struggle with allowing their feelings to be there. And in long distance relationships, all feelings are like magnified. So it definitely makes sense that you're struggling with long distance relationships. Let me know if this was valuable, and if you have a long distance relationship, what are the patterns that you notice? What are the dynamics that you notice? And do you have any specific questions about this, around this? Let me know in the comments. I always love to hear from you. And I'm so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one. Healed and Happy is a tailor-made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style.